I invite you at this time to still yourselves and turn within to that place in consciousness where we are aware that God is all there is. There is absolutely nothing else. In revisiting the wisdom presented in today's daily word, we realize that wholeness is the unshakable, eternal truth of us. Wholeness is the unshakable, eternal truth of us. Peace is the unshakable, eternal truth about me. Health is the unshakable, eternal truth about me. Love is the unshakable, eternal truth about me. Abundance is the unshakable, eternal truth about me. It is very comforting when we remember what the eternal truth about us is. The eternal truth about me, the eternal truth about you, the eternal truth about each and every one of us is that we are made in the image and likeness of God. The eternal truth about each and every one of us is that we are whole. The eternal truth is that we are complete. The eternal truth is that we are one with God. We have experiences, we have situations, we have conditions. And sometimes while we are going through an experience, while we are going through situations, it is sometimes difficult to see that eternal truth. Sometimes it's difficult to experience the eternal truth about us while these experiences are happening. It is therefore important during those times, those situations, those experiences, that we take some time out to pause, to be still, and reconnect with the eternal truth about ourselves. Connect to the eternal truth that God is always with you. Connect to the eternal truth that there is nothing to fear. Reconnect with that inner peace that is always right there. And know that you are God's beloved child. It is so wonderful to be able to rest in that awareness, regardless what's going on in the world around us. And it is true that there are a lot of things going on around us, but in all of that, I remain steadfast in the truth that God is all there is. There is absolutely nothing else. I stand on that truth, and I declare that to be so in my life, in the name and through the very nature that is in our master teacher and our elder brother, Jesus the Christ. Amen, and so it is.
Miss Jamie. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Thank you. We continue with releasing and reimagining. In other words, we continue with transforming our lives. This transformative process is vital. It's very, very important that we go through this transformation. We are working with the book Release and Reimagine, Lent 2026, for those of you who are watching virtually. If you do not have yours, you can go to our website, and there is a link where you can get the electronic copy and follow along with us. Those of you who are in-house, do you have yours with you? Say yes. Oh, good, Carmen. I see you got yours, Lila. You got one? Yours is at home. Find one for Lila, because I want you to follow along, because there's some very, very important information that's going to be brought out on page 41 today. So I want you to be able to follow. Also, you will want to make notes today, so having a blank piece of paper is going to be very helpful for today. Always at the beginning of service, ask everyone to, we try to make sure that our phones are on silent. Yep. But I'm going to ask you today, if you have your phones in service with you, there's a couple of things that I kind of want you to post. Since you got your phone all taken care of, I want us to post a few things today, because there's going to be something very, very important that I want to make sure that not just our virtual audience, our balcony, is aware of, but balcony, I want you to do this too. There is one thing that during this message I'm going to ask everybody to post, because I want all of your friends to know this one thing, and I'll let you know when we get to it. We're working with letting go of some things, and we always do this during Lent, but releasing things and letting go is something that I encourage you to do on a daily basis, whether we're celebrating or observing Lent or not. Because there is always something that we are going to need to, at some point in time, release and then reimagine. I'm going to let you know, or give you a real good clue as to when there is nothing that you have to release. You got it, don't you? There's always going to be something that we're going to need to release. I wish it could be a one and done thing.
Me too.
But as long as you are in this physical body, there is something that you are going to need to release. I'm not talking to y'all, I'm talking to me. Okay? There is always going to be something that needs to be released. And once it's released, then it has to be reimagined. The way this year's Lent book is set up is very strategically done. I want to make sure that I emphasize that. As we are accustomed to giving up something for Lent, it is necessary that once we give something up, we replace it with something else. Nature abhors a vacuum. If there is ever a space where nothing is, something is going to find its way there. When you let go of something, immediately put something back in its place so it doesn't leave room for something else to come into play. Looking at page 41. Page 41. This is what we started out this week releasing. Those first 3 words, very, very important, very, very crucial. I release scarcity. Come on, y'all. I release scarcity. Again, I release scarcity. One more time. I release scarcity. Here is something that is very crucial about that statement. The intensity in which we declare it. The words themselves are nice. But you see, there is so much inside of us for years and years and years of living, experiencing life that have to be broken up and removed and released. So, for what we learned when we were in the 8th grade, that's been there and that is stuck on grease, we need to break that up. For what we learned and what we heard and we accepted when we were in our 2nd year of college, that has become baked on junk, we need to say this like we're trying to break that up. Has anybody, other than me, ever left a pot on the stove?
Yes.
Okay. And whatever was in the pot, kind of like burnt up?
No.
Okay. Now, have you ever been able to get that burnt off stuff out by just trickling some water like that?
No.
What has to happen if you want to get all of that stuff out? You got to scrub it. Well, do you think that your subconscious mind is any different? You see, we got to scrub that subconscious mind of all of the junk that is caked up on that. So now what I want you to do is let's use these words like we would use a scrub bud. So now, how would you say it?
I release scarcity.
There we go. You see, you got to talk to that subconscious mind like you mean business. I release scarcity. I release it, I let it go, boom, you got to get up out of here. Let's look at that first paragraph there on page 41. In this world and our lives, what appears to be scarcity arises from underline this, disconnection with God as source. Ooh. That right there is where we're going to focus a lot of this lesson. This whole idea of scarcity comes from a disconnection with God as being your source. So a lot of the trouble, a lot of the discomfort, a lot of the lack that we experience is because we have disconnected ourselves with God. I had this discussion with somebody this week. Do you know that there is just as much cash and money available today as there was 20 years ago? There is just as much. There are no less resources now than there were 30 years ago. But somewhere along the line, we have disconnected ourselves to it. And in this lesson, we find three reasons or three ways that we have or that we do disconnect. Here's number one. Repeated thoughts focused on false appearances. That's the number one reason or the number one way that we connect ourselves to God. That we disconnect, ourselves to God. The repeated thoughts of false appearances. Because we think the same thing over and over and over again about false appearances. When we keep thinking over and over and over again, the money's going to run out. When we keep thinking over and over and over again, there is not enough. Guess what? At that point, we are disconnecting ourselves with God as our divine source. We have to stop disconnecting ourselves with God. Here is the second reason or the second way we disconnect with God as the source. Lack-based belief systems. There are some belief systems that we have that are rooted and grounded on a lack or limited consciousness. And this is why we have to really forcefully say, I release scarcity. We got to scrub that out. It would be nice if we could say, okay, here it is. I'm done. That's over. But sometimes those belief systems, those lack-based belief systems, takes real elbow grease to get out. Here's the third way, based on this lesson, that we disconnect ourselves with God. That we create illusions of insufficiency instead of images of increase. We create illusions of insufficiency instead of images of increase. What are images of increase? I've gotten to the point, y'all, where I have really stuck to watching House Hunters. I have gotten to the point that watching the process that a person goes through in achieving their dream is doing something to me. I like it. I like to see when a person says, you know what, out of all of the options that are available for homes, this is the one I choose. Images of increase instead of images of lack, instead of images of Law and Order SUV. Because that image is always showing you somebody being a victim.
Yes.
The reason we disconnect ourselves with God is because we're constantly looking at or rolling over in our minds images of victim instead of images of getting the house. So if we're going to, or in order to eliminate or release scarcity, we're going to replace that with something else. Looking at page 42. I reimagine abundance. Today, take steps toward new possibilities. Underline that, highlight that, circle it, whatever you have to do. Take steps today toward new possibilities. That is your key right there. Take steps toward your new possibilities. The reason we don't reach our new possibilities is because we're not taking steps in that direction. Sometimes we're just taking steps. We're just marking time. But Rev, I'm making steps. I'm doing the affirmations. I'm doing the denials. I'm going to class, but you're not moving in the direction that you want to go. That is crucial. In this lesson, you're going to get today several of those steps that are going to take you in that direction, that is going to get you to the end of the episode of House Hunters, where you choose your house. But if you're going to have to follow this logic here. If you don't go in the direction you want, you will get there. Think about that. That is a brain twister there. If you don't go in the direction you want, you'll get there. Bless you. Let that land. You are going to get where you are going. And where you're going may not be what you want. But if you keep going in that direction, that is where you're going to go. Or that's where you're going to get. So we are going to look at some specific steps, a specific process that will get us to where we want to go. So we must shift or change the way we are moving so that we get there instead of there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 things that Veronica Walker Douglas is going to share with us. Then you're going to get one that Reverend DG is going to give you that Veronica did not include in this. Okay? The first thing that must be done in order to commit your abundance practice is you must, number one, align with God as the infinite source. That's the number one thing. You must align with God as the infinite source, as opposed to aligning with TikTok, as opposed to aligning with the race consciousness. Align with God as opposed to aligning with everybody else. And I hear folks say this all the time, this time of year. This is pneumonia season. I want you all to know that there are only 4 seasons. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. This whole idea or this whole concept of flu season is a false belief. The minute we accept that and go along with whatever that says, then yes, we are going to experience that. Makes sense. My suggestion to you today, and Veronica's suggestion in Lent, is to align with God as the infinite source. Now, in releasing scarcity and reimagining abundance, it is very crucial that I take you here, okay? This is not just about scarcity in money. It includes that, but I want us to release the idea of scarcity in people. They say the optimist and the pessimist, the difference is one sees the glass as half empty and the other one sees it as half full. In moving beyond the ideal of scarcity, instead of, and I do this every morning when I walk in here, I want you all to join me with this, is instead of seeing empty seats, I want to start looking at the seats as full. Hey, sugar, hey, sugar. See, I love that. I love that. As soon as I started talking about seeing seats full, one more of them just filled up. I love it, baby. That was perfect. That was right on time. The thing is, to shift or reimagine the idea of scarcity in people. Begin to, as I do, see our balcony. Our balcony is filling up. I am so grateful to each and every one of you because every week our views are increasing. You are sharing this message with your friends. You are sharing this message with the people that you know. There are more people connected to Unity Church of Flint now than there was before. But because we do not see them in the seats, we still have the idea of scarcity. Okay, so we're going to align with God as infinite source. Ask is the second thing that Veronica tells us that we can do to reimagine abundance. Now, I want to work with this ideal or work with this concept of asking. Get your phones ready to tweet something. because this is what I want everybody to know. I want our balcony, I want our virtual audience to get this, and I want to flood Facebook with this statement. God is not reluctant to give. Post that. I want everybody to know this. I want all of your friends on your timeline to get this message. God is not reluctant to give. You see, there are some people who have this ideal or this concept that God gives today and not tomorrow. That God wakes up in the morning and says, maybe I'm going to give today, maybe I ain't. That's some people's ideal or concept of God. That God is reluctant to, and maybe he's going to give, maybe he's going to bless, maybe he's not. When it comes to asking, I want you to understand that rather than being reluctant to give, the individual, you, I, we must bring our thoughts and beliefs and words into harmony with truth. God is not reluctant to give. We have to bring our thoughts, our beliefs, and our words into harmony with truth. What is this simply saying? In a nutshell, get in line. The good that we want, the good that we desire is already there. But remember, we're eliminating or we are releasing scarcity. There is a disconnect with us and God as our source. For the most part, it's because we feel that there is something that we don't have. That's the idea of scarcity. There's something I want that I don't have. During Lent, this transformation that we are going through is taking you reimagining what is. When it comes to asking, therefore, is an act of spiritual realization rather than a request born of lack. Most times when we're trying to ask for something, we're looking for something that we believe we are lacking. Asking is not merely verbal. It is a spiritual practice of aligning your mind. That's what asking really is. I'm reminded of a exercise in ministerial school where we had to pray in the concept or in the consciousness of a caveman. Think of how cavemen could have or possibly interacted or communicated with each other. Think about communicating with God without words. Ponder that. Think about that. Communicate with God without making a sound. The real asking is that aligning yourself with God non-verbally. So if we take the verbal aspect of asking out, it takes on an entirely different meaning. It takes on an entirely different process. Asking is aligning yourself with God. The next thing in asking We have to ask with the understanding that the good desired, watch this, already exists in divine mind, and it can be expressed through faith, will, awareness. The good that you want, the good that you desire already exists. You see, we have to look at what is the good we want to experience and begin to reframe it, because that's all we're doing with this is reframing it. Instead of saying, God, bring more people into the church, we're going to reframe that. Okay? We want to experience a fuller service attendance-wise. That would be wonderful. But here's the thing that we have to look at. Why? Why do we want more people in here? The most common, oh God, why are you taking me here? The most common response, if people were to be honest, is they want more people in the church, so then that means they don't have to do as much.
We need to be around like-minded people.
In reframing this, in releasing scarcity and reimagining abundance, when we can get this why, this purpose, why do we want more people in here, is to teach them how to live a better life. That is the whole goal or the whole purpose. Or that must be the whole goal or the whole purpose of why we want more bodies in the seat, is to teach people how to live a better life. Now, one of the reasons that a lot of people do not want to live a better life the way we present it in here is because it means we have to take some responsibility for this better life. Some people want to just sit back and let God do it from out there. No. This message means that there is some responsibility, there are some steps, there's some work that you have to do as the individual. And everybody ain't ready for that. Which leads me to this point. The way a person asks is just as important as what is asked for. How are you asking? A person should ask, I want you to write these things down. This is going to be crucial with your asking. You must ask, first of all, with faith rather than doubt. You got it? Let me know when you're ready for the next one. Must ask with faith rather than doubt. The next one. We must ask with expectancy rather than desperation. Because the way we ask, the way we approach things is just as important, if not more, than what we are asking for. If the prayer is, God, please help me, that attitude or that mentality is how your answer is going to come. We must ask with the awareness of unity with God. Not that it's out there, but realizing what we want already exists right here within us. So it's not a matter of trying to get it. It's about expressing what already is. We must ask with words that affirm rather than deny. That takes practice. Asking with words that affirm rather than deny. Because for the most part, whenever we think about asking, we're trying to get something. We must ask with the willingness to align thought and life with the answer. This one is tricky. This one is tricky. Which is why meditation is so important. Align thought with the answer. Anytime the answer is given as what would be a possible solution, how many times do we say, yeah, but? Well, yeah, we could do this if they would. See, Align with the answer. When the answer comes, too many times we find loopholes. We actually look for loopholes, reasons why it won't work. And that's what happens with too many people. We're not willing to align with what the answer is. And our Lenten lesson gives us the next answer is once you align and once you ask, you have to accept it. Here's the thing about accepting your good. Sometimes we don't have our good because we can't accept it. The reason we can't accept it is because we're not making room for it. Accept your good by preparing to receive it. My grandmother told my granddaddy, said, build me a garage. I want a new car. He said, but we ain't got the new car. She said, build me a garage. But you haven't got the car yet. She said, I don't want the new car to get rained on. Build me a garage so I can put the new car in it when it gets here. See, we got to prepare for our good. We can't accept it, we can't have it because we haven't prepared for it. Now that's a lot of the external preparation, but the internal preparation, the internal acceptance has got to get there as well. Next, on page 42, we see the word allow. Allow abundance to flow freely in all areas of your life. Allow abundance to flow freely in all areas of your life. You see, we're not willing to let abundance flow freely through all areas of our life. We only want it in one area. The only area we want abundance to flow freely is in our money. Now, yes, I do want it to flow freely in my money, but I want abundance to flow freely in my refrigerator. I want abundance to flow freely in my closet. I want abundance to flow freely in the gas tank in my car. Let abundance flow freely. Now here's where, Veronica, it's not that I disagree with you. But the last thing that she says on 42 is assist others by sharing your time, your talent, energy, and your resources. Now, Veronica, that is very commendable. it's very nice. But in order to reimagine real abundance in your life, what I want to add to this is action. Because if she says assist others, yes, that's very, very important. That's very, very vital. That's very, very important. But I'm reminded of what is said on every airline flight.
Help yourself first.
You got, if there's a loss in cabin pressure, put the mask on yourself first before you start assisting others. Because if you ain't got no oxygen, how can you be a help to anybody else? So if our purpose is to teach others how to live a better life, the first thing we got to do is learn how to do it ourselves. That's the transformation. And when we begin to transform our lives, then we can assist somebody else. So this whole transformation that we're going through in Lent, and did y'all realize that I only went through 2 of the days of this week leading up to this Sunday? That just lets you know how intense this material is this year during Lent. This is some major, major stuff. You can transform your life. And I'm so happy to be a part of that transformation process with you. I love you, and we'll see you all back here next week for some more transformational tips. All right?
Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. This cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are still, when striving cease, my comforter, my all in all. Here in the love of Christ I stand. Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save. On that cross, as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, for every sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ in me from life's first cry to final breath. Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand.